This is Real Maths, and today we are going to be learning how to factorise algebraic equations. So, an algebraic equation, a quadratic equation, looks something like a squared plus b squared, plus c, which all equals 0. Where a, b and c are all constants to be found. Okay, so this could look something like x squared plus 3x minus 12, which equals 0, where a equals 1, b equals 3, c equals minus 12. Okay, so let's take an equation where b is 0. So therefore that value there doesn't exist because 0 times x will always equal 0 because 0 times anything is 0. Okay, so 5x squared minus 10 equals 0. So here we're going to solve, so we're going to add 10 to both sides to change that to the other side. So we're going to do 5x squared equals 10. Now we're going to divide by 5 on both sides to move that over to the other side. So I'm going to get x squared equals 2. And then finally we're going to square root both sides to get x to equal plus or minus square root 2. So therefore x equals root 2 or minus root 2. Okay, another example. 6x squared minus 9 equals 0. So we're going to add 9 to both sides, which will leave us with 6x equals 9. Then we'll divide by 6 on both sides, which will get us that 9 over 6. And then this can be simplified to be 3 over 2. And then square root both sides. That was a bad square root. X equals 3 over 2 square rooted plus or minus. Therefore x equals either root over 3 2 or minus 3 over 2. Okay, so that is if b would be equal to 0. Another scenario could be where c equals 0. Therefore there is no c, because c equals 0, there is no c. Okay, so let's think of one. 4x squared plus 8x equals 0. Okay, so what we're going to do here is take out a factor. Okay, so a factor is something that times is to make something. So factors of 16 are equal 8, 4, 2, 1 and 16, because 8 times 2 equals 16, 4 times 4 equals 16, 1 times 16 equals 16. All them values add times together to make 16. Okay, so let's get rid of that now. So what factors we have here are 4, because 4 goes into 4, but it also goes into 8 twice, so you can take out a factor of 4 because it goes into both of them. And then you can take out a factor of x because there's an x in both of them as well. This will come out as x because you've taken out a factor of 4x from 4x squared, therefore you're left with 1x, or x to the power of 1, and then you're left with 2 as you've taken out 4x from that, so there is 2 left over. So you can see this when you times out the brackets, just to check that your answer was right. 4x times x is 8x squared. No, it's not 8x squared, it's 4x squared. I've jumped the gun. is 4x squared, and then 4x times 2 equals plus 8x, which is as seen above. Okay, so we've got 4x, x plus 2 equals 0. Now how do we solve this? You can divide these. So 4x, x plus 2 equals 0. So let's divide both sides by 4x, as technically this is times here. Okay, so divide both sides by 4x and you get equals 0, because anything divided or times by 0 will equal 0. Okay, now we solve. So we minus 2 from both sides to leave us with minus 2. So x equals minus 2. Okay, now let's do a scenario where we divide by x plus 2 on both sides. So we're left with 4x equals 0. And now we solve. So divide by 4. And x still equals 0. So x equals minus 2 and slash or 0. Okay. So let's do another one. Let's get rid of all this. Okay, so we're going to do 5x squared. 5x squared plus 20x equals 0. Okay. We've got 5x squared. Sorry, let's take out a factor. So a factor of this would be 5, because 1 5 goes into 5 and 4 5 goes into 20, and x, which would leave with x, and it would leave us with 4, which all equals 0. Now let's divide by 5x on both sides, which will leave us with x plus 4 equals 0. Now let's solve. So that's minus 4 from both sides, and that will leave us with minus 4. So x equals minus 4. Okay, and that's do it by dividing the plus 4. So to divide both sides by x plus 4, which will leave us 5x equals 0. And then divide by 5 on both sides, leaves you with x equals 0. So x equals 0 or minus 4. Okay, now let's go into whole quadratics. Okay. So there was just some examples of where they might not use the full quadratic. Okay, so let's do a basic one. Okay. Just trying to think. Plus 16 equals 0. 16, that's a 16. Okay. So, in this instance, we're definitely going to end up with x times x, just 1x times 1x. So we can write out two brackets where x is in the multiplication of the factorisation. Okay, so it's what adds to make this, and times is to make the final c. Okay, so what adds to make that and times is to make that 8 and 2. So it's going to be plus 8 and plus 2. Okay, let's do another example. Squared minus 13 plus 42 equals 0. Okay, so we're going to get 2x brackets. So what adds to make that and times is to make the final c, which is -6 and -7. Okay, because -6 minus 7 equals -13. -6 times -7, which is a double negative, which makes it 6 times 7 equals 42. So we're going to get -6 and -7. Okay, so when we get to this stage, we can solve, so by making it equal to 0, plus 8 equals 0, so x equals -8, as we -8 from both sides, and then x plus 2 equals 0, so x equals -2. Okay. Okay, let's do a harder one now. So we're going to do 4x squared plus 15x plus 9. Now you might notice that it's not just x squared now. So what we do here is I'm going to do the splitting method. Now this isn't what every teacher teaches, but I believe it's the safest method. So what we're going to do is going to times this number here by that number there. So that's plus 36. Okay. Now we're going to do what adds to make that and times is to make that still. Okay. So what adds to make that and times is to make that 12 and 3. Yeah, 12 and 3. Okay. So what I'm going to do here is going to write out this equation, but where it's plus 12x and plus 3x plus 9. You see how this still equals 15x. We're just splitting it up to help us factorise it. So let's write that out again. Plus 12x plus 3x plus 9. Now, because it's a splitting method, what we do is we split these into two separate factors, right? Two separate equations, which is all equal to 0. Okay. So we're gonna have, we're gonna solve this side first. So we're gonna factorise this side. Sorry. So we've got a factor of 4 and a factor of x, which will leave us with x plus 3. Now here we've got a factor of 3, and that's it. So x plus 3. Now what you'll notice is these two brackets will make this will be the same. Okay, so that's your first bracket, and then your second bracket is going to be a mixture of that and that. So it's going to be 4x plus 3. Okay, now we can solve this because that all equals 0. So we've got x plus 3 equals 0, which will equal x equals -3. And we've got 4x plus 3 equals 0. 4x equals -3. X equals -3 over 4. Okay, so let's do another one of them. Okay, so let's do an easier one. Just think. Okay, so we'll do okay, so we're going to times this by that, which equals 30 plus 30, add times this to make that, which is, what adds to make? 15 to, no, 10 and 3, sorry. 10 times 3 equals 30, 10 plus 3 equals 13. Okay, so we're going to split them up. It doesn't matter which way around these go, technically. I'll show you in a sec. So we'll solve it both ways. It's just harder sometimes when you do it some ways. Like this way makes it a lot easier because that's easily factorised, whereas this is a lot harder to factorise, I'd say. So let's factorise this side first. So we've got 2x plus 5, and then 3x plus 5. You can check that it's right because these two are the same. Then we've got 2x plus 3 as one bracket, and x plus 5. Okay, here this can't be factorised, so we're going to take out a value of 1. No, we're not. It can. No, you can take out a value of x. That's it. So anything that can be taken out. So you got 2x still, and 3. Then here we can take a factor out of 5, which leaves us with 2x plus 3. Check it's right because they're the same. So 2x plus 3, x plus 5. Okay, now let's solve. So this all equals to 0. So that becomes minus 3. And then we've got x plus 5 equals 0. X equals minus 5. Okay. So let's do another one now. Let's do a harder one, which involves a mixture of a little bit of thinking. Okay, so let's do no, sorry. 2x cubed minus 2x squared minus 24x equals 0. Now there's something you might notice about this, and it is that there's a factor of x too many. So we can take out a factor of x from this to get us a nice quadratic equation, and then we can divide by the 2x squared minus 2x minus 24 on both sides, which will get us x equals 0. So we've already got our first value of x. Okay, 2x squared minus 2x minus 24. So we're going to times that by that, which gets us minus 48. And then we've got to find out what times is to make 48 minus 48 and adds to make minus 2x, which is minus 8 and 6. Minus 8 plus 6 equals minus 2. Minus 8 times 6 equals minus 48. Okay. So then we put that into the equation. So which way around we're going to go? We're going to go minus 8x here, plus 6x there, minus 24. And we're going to split it up. So we're going to factorise, so 2x. And then we're going to factorise on this side. Check that they're both the same. Yep, so it's right. 2x plus 6, x minus 4 equals 0. Solve. and then solve on this side, and x equals 4. So x equals minus 3, 4, and 0. I think that's it. So that was factorising algebraic equations and the use of the splitting method.